any election always comes back to talking about taxes. And listening to some of the campaigns in the past for various state offices, there's always one candidate that gets up and says, I would never vote for a tax increase. That's an irresponsible fool. You don't know what you're going to do with regard to taxes until you're in the position and you see all the sides of the story. Are the taxes too high? Everybody thinks taxes are too high. Any kind of tax, no matter what it is. And you can't split there between Carbondale and Jackson County. If you live in Carbondale, your taxes are too high. It goes back to a comment I made earlier about bringing these other bodies together and making them accountable for their taxes and what they are passing on. John A. Logan, the school districts, all these other bodies. Now, was it right to pass the property tax? I wasn't there, I didn't vote on it. I respect the people that did. They had to look at all the factors involved. You're damned either way. Because if you go with the sales tax, then it has a negative impact on the business community, and people say it drives business away. So property tax, sales tax, I'm not quite sure what is right there. The biggest factor that can help this community right now is for SIU to get their act together and start doing the job they should have been doing a long time ago and they stopped doing, and that's recruiting students. We get a couple thousand more students into this community, and they talk about, you know, their income potential. No, they have disposable income. And as a parent of a child who's off to school, they spend everything. You bring a couple thousand students into this community with their income potential, that's going to jumpstart this community faster than anything, and will jumpstart our tax situation. And if we're waiting for the state of Illinois to come along and help us, don't hold your breath, you're all going to be dead.
Mr. Roney, where we can cut, we have to cut. Where did you mention?
Well, there again, talking about cutting until you're in the position and you've got all the information in front of you, that's a very difficult decision. There's programs and people. That's where the money is. It really comes down to people. When I had to do that at the hospital, I didn't cut things like travel, I didn't cut continuing education. That was nickels and dimes. You cut people, you cut staffing ratios. That's where the big bucks were, and that's the only way you could make a difference in your operation.
Dr. Goldman, I want to start the next round of questions with you. It involves social services and education. What role, if any, does the city play in offering social services and funding for nonprofits or helping with the local schools?
Let me first suggest that the city has an important role in seeing to it that social services are offered. I used to live in a community where they shut down an institution without thinking about where their clients would go. And they went into the city and they stayed there. Nobody worried about them. And before you knew it, we had street people living in the streets in the downtown area. That's most unfortunate. And the reason is that nobody thought through, what do we do once we cut all of this? What happens to all the people in there? And those of us and all of us who have responsibility for a city have to be concerned about the people who live there and live under poverty. I believe that the city should help where it can. Most of all, the city should be able to find ways, either through grants or through other kinds of means with respect to going to the people and raising some money, to make sure that we are not a city that is inundated with people with difficult problems. You know where they go when they have these difficult problems? They go to the emergency room, and we end up paying for it anyway. Only we pay for it a lot more. And we should not be able to turn away from that. I believe it's a great tragedy that we are losing some of the services from SERS and some of the other places. We cannot afford to do that. It changes the quality of life in your community.
Mr.
We have to be a caring community.
Mr. Haynes.
I too agree that our quality of life is based upon several different levels, including our social service background and our ability to be a caring and thoughtful community. The city of Carbondale has always been involved in making contributions to their social service programs and making sure that not the whole budget process was covered, but that we had some adequate involvement in there. And I truly believe we need to continue that process. And that's based upon the fact that if you don't take care of individuals now, what are we going to do later on when you have to take them to jail or to the emergency room or to the pauper's grave or anything along that lines? We have a social responsibility as individuals to be good business people, but also to be good people. And that's part of the process that we have to look at. Thank you.
Mr. Maroney.
These are very tight economic times. In the past, the city, other governments had a lot of money, and they created a lot of programs, and they spent a lot of money. In the past, I've gone on record as basically stating the city is not a philanthropist. You folks are. You all have the potential. Don't give to political campaigns, give to charities. There are needs in this community that need to be met, and they can be best met by private individuals, foundations, but they cannot be met by the city of Carbondale. Going back to some of the comments Mr. Fritzler's made, the city has certain basic responsibilities that they need to meet for their citizens. Fire, police, streets, things of this nature. That is their responsibility. And as the last speaker just said, individuals, well, I'll take it a step further. Yes, individuals have responsibilities, and they need to work on these projects. And I think your question also talked about, should we be doing things with the schools? We have good schools. The primary school district needs to be better. The city should encourage, challenge, but not be involved in the funding of those types of programs. You're paying a lot of taxes on that bill to the school districts. It is their responsibility to do the job, and in one case, do a better job of educating our children. You educate our children, you quite frankly decrease the need for some of these other social programs we're talking about. And that really is like K through 3. After that, I'm not sure what you're going to do.
Mr. Fritzler.
Well, I guess as Mr. Maroney did point out, that I do feel that we all have our different missions. The city has a mission of providing primary care for safety and water and sewer. I think the schools have their mission, providing education. The Red Cross has their mission. The SIU has their mission. The newspaper has their mission. So I think we need to all be focusing on what our mission is, and not focusing on what other organizations' missions are. I mean, the city has made a lot of cutbacks. I think we're missing 3 key positions: the manager of building and neighborhood services and our planning manager. Those are 2 positions that have been vacant for some time. And also, we don't have the director of development services. They've all been kind of combined under Kevin Beatty. He's kind of doing 4 jobs now as also the director of economic development and assistant city manager. So we need to refocus on what our mission is, what our priorities are. And as mentioned, there are a lot of social services in Carbondale, and Carbondale actually contributes more to our civic organizations than any other community in Southern Illinois, if not Illinois, as far as population. But when we don't have the funds, we're not able to assist those organizations with their programs. They're not the city's programs; they're the organization programs. I mean, I wish we could. I wish we had more money to do that. But right now, we need to take a step back and focus on what our mission is. Thank you.
Mr. Haynes, the next question will start with you. It involves SIU. This came up a moment ago. What can a mayor and the city do, if anything, to help increase enrollments at SIUC?
I think the mayor or the person in that position needs to have access, or have the ability to have access to the recruitment process out of SIU. He needs to be there to give the welcoming. He needs to be there to encourage the recruitment officers and the office itself. He needs to make sure that he will do everything possible within the realm of what his responsibilities can be to make Carbondale the positive place that people want to bring their kids to. We have a part of the process, I believe, is that, like some of my fellow candidates said too, we have some image problems when it comes to getting people to come to Carbondale, and sometimes when we want them to stay. Whether that be the streets not being cleaned all the way, or potential for crime in the community, or things of that nature. So we need to work very, very hard within our own city structure to make sure that those things that we can take care of, which I'm not saying that we don't. Please don't take that when I'm saying that. I think our police force does an awesome job, our fire and safety public officials do also. But we need to make sure that that message gets out to both the students and their parents so that they understand that Carbondale is a safe place for them to bring their kids to stay for a while we have them here. Again, we need to be those surrogate parents that they need to have. Thank you.